In this video, we are tackling one of the hottest Snowflake topics in interviews, that is dynamic tables. Instead of definitions, I'll walk you through real interview questions and show you how to answer them effectively. So you'll know exactly how to demonstrate hands-on experience and stand out in your interviews. Let's dive in. Question 1. Do you use dynamic tables? If yes, can you explain where and how you used them? Interviewers ask this to see if you have practical, hands-on experience with dynamic tables. Let's look at a few sample answers. Answer 1. Yes, I used dynamic tables in our retail analytics project. We had streaming order events landing in Snowflake, ingested from Kafka into raw landing tables. We use dynamic tables to build incremental transformations on top of this raw data and apply business rules. Instead of setting up multiple tasks for refreshes, Snowflake automatically tracked dependencies and refreshed the dynamic tables based on the target lag we defined. This really simplified how we handled our streaming pipelines. Answer 2. Yes, I used dynamic tables at our data layer. I replaced several task-based pipelines with dynamic tables, particularly for low-latency dashboards. Previously, we had a chain of scheduled tasks that refreshed staging and reporting tables. Managing dependencies, failures, and retries was a lot of overhead. By migrating to dynamic tables, Snowflake handled the refresh automatically and guaranteed data freshness within the defined lag. This not only reduced operational complexity, but also improved reliability. Business users saw fresher data in dashboards, and our team spent less time maintaining pipeline schedules. As you can see, both answers focus on where dynamic tables were used and how they simplified real pipelines, whether in streaming use cases or dashboard refreshes. That's exactly what interviewers are looking for: clear, practical examples of hands-on experience. All right, question 2. What are the key components of a dynamic table definition? This is a straightforward question, more fact-based than experience-based. Interviewers want to check if you know the basic building blocks of a dynamic table. A clear answer is, every dynamic table has a few key components. First, it has a name, which is simply the identifier of the table. Then, it has a target lag, which defines how fresh the data in the table needs to be. Next, there's the warehouse, which is the compute resource responsible for running the refresh operations. Finally, the query definition specifies how the dynamic table is populated. So in short, each dynamic table has a name, a query that defines it, a warehouse that runs it, and a target lag that controls its data freshness. This type of question is more about fundamentals. A strong candidate won't overcomplicate it. They'll give a crisp list of components and, if appropriate, ask the interviewer if they'd like to hear an example. Here is the next one. How does Snowflake determine when to refresh a dynamic table? Snowflake uses the target lag you define on a dynamic table to decide when to refresh it. The system continuously monitors upstream changes and refreshes the dynamic table whenever its data becomes older than the target lag you set. There are 3 types of target lag. Time-based lag. You set a specific time, like 5 minutes or 1 hour, and Snowflake refreshes the table to make sure its data is never older than that. The other type is downstream lag. The dynamic table refreshes in coordination with any dependent dynamic tables. The other type is unlimited. No strict freshness requirement is set. The table refreshes only when resources are available or when upstream data changes. But there's no guarantee on how fresh the data will be. So essentially, target lag controls when a dynamic table refreshes, ensuring data stays as fresh as you need. Notice that this question is about fundamentals. Interviewers aren't testing advanced design skills here. They just want to see if you know the basic building blocks of a dynamic table. A good answer lists the components clearly without over-explaining. Next up, can you explain the role of target lag in dynamic tables? The question is similar to the previous one, but here's a focus shift specifically to target lag. Here's how you can answer. Target lag defines how fresh the data in a dynamic table should be. In other words, it specifies the maximum acceptable delay between the dynamic table and its upstream data sources. For example, if the target lag is set to 5 minutes, Snowflake ensures that the data in the dynamic table is never more than 5 minutes behind the source. This gives you a balance between freshness and cost. Shorter lags give near real-time data but require more frequent refreshes, while longer lags reduce compute consumption. Target lag is a trade-off between freshness and cost. The shorter the lag, the fresher the data, but it comes with higher compute usage. On the other hand, longer lags reduce compute consumption, but the data may not be as fresh. This question digs deeper into whether you know the practical impact of target lag, not just what it is, but how it impacts. Last one in the beginner level interview questions. How would you check the last refresh status and history of a dynamic table? Here is the answer. I use the dynamic table refresh history function from the information schema to check the last refresh status and history of a dynamic table. By querying this view, I can see when the last refresh occurred, how long it took, and whether it completed successfully, which is essential for monitoring, troubleshooting, and ensuring that your dynamic tables meet the desired freshness requirements. That wraps up the basics of Snowflake interview questions on dynamic tables. Next, I'll be covering the intermediate and advanced topics to help you get fully prepared. In this video, we'll dive into intermediate level Snowflake interview questions on dynamic tables. These go beyond the basics and focus more on practical usage, tuning, dependencies, and performance considerations. Let's get started. Question: what happens if a refresh for a dynamic table fails? Interviewers ask this to test if you understand not just how dynamic tables work when things go right, but how you handle failures and their impact on downstream pipelines. Here goes the answer. If a dynamic table refresh fails, Snowflake logs the failure in the refresh history. Now, if the table is part of a dependency chain with target lag is equal to downstream, any dependent dynamic tables will not refresh until the failed one is resolved. Once the issue is fixed, Snowflake resumes subsequent refreshes automatically and the tables catch up to their defined lag. Next question: can dynamic tables be materialized incrementally? And how does Snowflake handle incremental refreshes? Here is my answer. Yes, dynamic tables can be materialized incrementally as long as the query supports it. By default, the refresh mode is auto, which means Snowflake will try to do an incremental refresh whenever possible. I can also explicitly set it to incremental at creation. In incremental refresh mode, Snowflake does not recompute the whole dataset. Instead, it calculates the changes since the last refresh and merges only those, whether inserts, updates, or deletes. This makes refreshes much faster and more cost-efficient, especially when there are frequent but small changes. If my query uses unsupported constructs like non-deterministic functions like current date or current timestamp, or even complex joins, Snowflake will fall back to full refresh. Also, once the refresh mode is set, it's logged in to change it later. I'd need to recreate the dynamic table. The key point is that incremental refreshes save compute and time when possible, but not all queries are eligible. So this tells the interviewer whether you know the difference between full versus incremental refreshes and the cost versus performance trade-offs. Moving on to the next question. What are some common use cases for dynamic tables compared to materialized views? Here is my answer. I typically use dynamic tables when I need to build automated data pipelines that refreshes and transform data from multiple tables without writing custom code or managing schedules manually. They are especially useful when working with streaming data or frequent business intakes because they can incrementally update only the changed data, keeping downstream dashboards and reports current with less effort. Materialized views, on the other hand, are used to speed up queries on specific datasets. For example, if I frequently aggregate sales data or need low latency reports on certain metrics, materialized views pre-compute the result so queries run faster. They are simpler to set up when the transformations are straightforward and the data volume is manageable. Also, dynamic tables are flexible for complex transformations and multiple dependencies and incremental refreshes, but they can increase compute costs. Materialized views are limited in transformation capabilities, but they are lightweight and excellent for query performance optimization on frequently accessed datasets. That's the answer. The interviewer wants to see if you can distinguish between two closely related features and choose the right tool for the right scenario. Next question. What challenges did you face when using the dynamic tables? Here is my answer. In my experience, there are a few challenges when working with dynamic tables. One is handling queries that are not compatible with incremental refresh. For example, non-deterministic functions like current date or complex joins can force a full refresh, which increases the compute and refresh time. Another challenge is monitoring and troubleshooting. I always check the refresh history to make sure the tables are updating correctly and to quickly spot failures. There are also operational limitations. Dynamic tables can't be temporary, can't be truncated manually, and refreshes run under the owner role, which limits some access controls. Finally, tuning target lag can be a bit tricky. Short lags give near real-time data but increases compute, while longer lags reduces the cost but delay freshness. Balancing this requires testing and careful planning. Overall, these challenges are manageable, but they require attention to query design, monitoring, and operational best practices. That's the answer, and this is exactly where interviewers understand your hands-on experience. Anyone can read documentation, but only actual users can talk about challenges. Speaking of which, interviewers often follow up by asking how you overcame these challenges or what workarounds you applied. Because that's natural to ask a solution-based question after a challenges question. Because they want to see your problem solving, how you think, you adapt, and design reliable solutions despite limitations. Here is my answer. To handle queries that weren't compatible with incremental refresh, I made sure to avoid non-deterministic functions and simplified complex joins wherever possible. For cases where a full refresh was unavoidable, I scheduled them strategically to minimize compute costs. For monitoring and troubleshooting, I relied on dynamic table refresh history in the information schema. This helped me quickly spot failures, check refresh durations, and ensure data freshness. Regarding operational limitations, I designed pipelines knowing the dynamic tables are persistent and refresh under the owner role. I structured access and dependencies carefully to avoid permission issues. For tuning target lag, I tested different lag settings based on the volume and frequency of changes. Short lags were used for dashboards that needed near real-time updates, while longer lags were applied for less critical tables to save compute. Overall, careful planning, monitoring, and iterative tuning helped me overcome these challenges and make dynamic tables efficient and reliable. Moving on to the next question. How do you tune target lag in practice? And here is my answer. When I tune target lag, I start by looking at the freshness requirements for the data. If dashboards or reports need near real-time data, I use shorter target lag. For less critical tables, I set a longer lag to save compute costs. I also monitor the pipeline performance, how long refreshes take, and how much compute is used. Based on that, I adjust the lag to balance data freshness with cost and efficiency. Sometimes I test different lag values in a development environment before applying them in production. This helps me find a sweet spot where the data is fresh enough but the compute usage is optimized. In short, tuning target lag is about balancing freshness, performance, and cost while monitoring and iterating as needed. Next question. If two dynamic tables depend on each other, how does Snowflake manage dependencies and refresh order? Here is my answer. When two dynamic tables depend on each other, Snowflake handles their refresh order using the target lag setting. If I set a table's lag to downstream, it means that table will refresh only when its dependent tables refresh. This ensures that the data is consistent and up to date across all dependent tables. For example, if I have two tables, D1 and D2, and D2 depends on D1, setting D2's target lag to downstream ensures that D2 refreshes only after D1 has refreshed. This automatic dependency management simplifies orchestration and maintains data integrity. It's important to note that the target lag is a target, not a guarantee. Snowflake aims to keep the actual lag below the specified target, but factors like query complexity and warehouse performance can affect this. Next up, what performance considerations do you keep in mind while designing a dynamic table? This question goes deeper into design thinking, whether you build tables with cost efficiency and incremental eligibility in mind. Here is my answer. When I design a dynamic table, I focus on query efficiency first. I try to keep the query simple and avoid non-deterministic functions or overly complex joins, because these can force full refreshes and increase compute costs. I also consider incremental refresh eligibility. Designing queries that support incremental refresh helps reduce unnecessary recomputation and keeps refreshes faster and more cost-effective. Another key factor is target lag. I tune it based on data freshness requirements and compute cost. Shorter lags give near real-time updates but can increase compute cost, while longer lags save cost but delay updates. Finally, I think about dependencies and refresh order. If the dynamic tables depend on other tables, I set the appropriate target lag so Snowflake refreshes tables in the right sequence without creating bottlenecks. Overall, my goal is to balance performance, cost, and data freshness when designing dynamic tables. Lastly, in what scenarios would you prefer a dynamic table over a task-driven ELT pipeline? So this question helps the interviewer to judge if you can compare approaches and pick the right solution for the use case. And here is my answer. I typically choose dynamic tables when I need automatic incremental data refreshes without the overhead of managing multiple tasks or schedules. They are ideal for building pipelines where data dependencies are complex, and I want Snowflake to handle the refresh order for me. Dynamic tables are also great for incremental transformations, especially when working with streaming or frequently changing data. I don't have to recompute the entire dataset every time, only the changes are processed, which saves compute and time. On the other hand, I prefer task-driven ELT pipelines when I need full control over the workflow. For example, I can schedule tasks in a very specific sequence, handle retries manually if something fails, or integrate with external systems outside of Snowflake. This gives me precise control over timing, error handling, and orchestration, which is important for complex business processes. So, in short, I choose dynamic tables for automated incremental pipelines entirely with Snowflake and tasks when I need more granular control or integration with external systems. That wraps up the intermediate level Snowflake interview questions on dynamic tables. In the next video, we'll go even deeper into advanced questions. Stay tuned. Let's dive into some advanced concepts around Snowflake dynamic tables, including how to handle late data, maintain lineage, and troubleshoot them in real-world scenarios. Question 1. How do dynamic tables handle late arriving data in the source? Interviewers assess how dynamic tables handle refresh logic and data timeliness, especially in real-world pipelines where data may not always arrive on schedule. So the answer is, dynamic tables don't automatically handle late arriving data. They process only what's available at refresh time. However, when delays are predictable, I use the target lag setting to define the maximum acceptable delay between source updates and the dynamic table's content. This ensures the table eventually catches up as new data arrives. For more unpredictable or immediate late data, I trigger manual catch-up refreshes or use configurations that control which rows are recomputed or reprocessed. I also add deduplication or timestamp-based logic to prevent duplicate records when reprocessing overlapping data windows. Question 2. What limitations exist when joining dynamic tables with external tables or shared data? This question tests your awareness of Snowflake's object model and best practices for working around these constraints. The answer goes, when I join dynamic tables with external tables or shared data, there are some important limitations. First, dynamic tables cannot directly reference external tables or shared tables in their defining query. Snowflake simply doesn't allow these objects as sources. If I try to include them in the select statement, the query will fail. Also, dynamic tables themselves can't be shared, and I can't query them through a shared secure view or any shared object that references a dynamic table upstream. Beyond that, there are some related restrictions. For example, non-deterministic functions, dynamic SQL, and secondary roles aren't supported in dynamic table definitions. Because of these limitations, whenever I need to work with external or shared data, I first materialize that data into a regular Snowflake table within the same account. That way, the dynamic table can reference it normally, and I still get consistent refreshes and performance. Question 3. How is data lineage maintained for dynamic tables within Snowflake? Snowflake automatically maintains data lineage for dynamic tables through a built-in dependency graph. Each dynamic table stores metadata about its upstream and downstream relationships, so I can easily see where its data comes from and where its output flows next. This lineage is visible directly in Snowsight under Lineage tab, which provides a visual map showing how data moves from base tables through intermediate dynamic tables to final outputs. Question 4. If your dynamic table query includes non-deterministic functions, what happens during refresh? The answer is, dynamic tables don't support non-deterministic functions like current timestamp or random because these values change every time the query runs, even if the underlying data hasn't changed. That makes it impossible for Snowflake to determine which rows actually need refreshing. Instead, I use deterministic alternatives, for example, timestamp columns from the source table. These values only change when the data changes, so Snowflake can refresh only the rows that truly changed, keeping the dynamic table accurate and efficient. Question 5. How would you troubleshoot a situation where a dynamic table is stuck in refresh pending state? Interviewers want to know if you understand how the dynamic table refresh lifecycle works and whether you can logically isolate the root cause or not. The answer is, the first thing I do is check dependencies. I review upstream tables to see if any haven't refreshed yet and check downstream dependencies and target lag settings, because sometimes the pending state is expected. Next, I inspect the source data, the dynamic tables query, and the warehouse or system status to make sure everything is available, valid, and not blocked. Once I confirm that nothing upstream, downstream, or system related is causing the pending state, I determine if the table is simply waiting or truly stuck. If it's waiting, I may trigger a manual refresh. If it's stuck, I cancel the current refresh and start a new one. If nothing works, recreating the table is a last resort. And if I do that, I back up the current table first so I don't lose any materialized data. Question 6. What governance or monitoring tools can you use to track dynamic table costs and performance? Interviewers want to see if you understand how to monitor dynamic table refresh behavior, manage cost efficiency, and tie that into broader data governance practices. The answer is, I use Snowflake's query history and resource monitors to monitor compute usage, identify expensive queries, and track warehouse consumption during refreshes. I check account usage views to analyze refresh frequency, duration, and data processed. Also, I create custom dashboards in Snowsight using metadata from account usage to get a visual overview of dynamic table activity, refresh trends, and performance metrics. For broader data governance and lineage, I integrate Snowflake metadata with third-party tools like Collibra or Alation, which allows me to track dependencies and maintain oversight of performance. That wraps up the advanced level interview questions on Snowflake Dynamic Tables. These are the kind of questions that really test your practical understanding, not just how dynamic tables work, but how you troubleshoot, optimize, and govern them in real-world scenarios.